school's requirement. And yeah. So yeah, your introduction, after you've written the outline, your introduction, there should be a hook. There should be something that captivates the person, like what I rightly wrote. During the height of the global pandemic, everybody knew about the COVID-19. So it's basically saying during the COVID-19 season, what I worked with Rema Ghana. You can see that it's everyone holds some kind of like emotional standpoint to this event. Like people lost their loved ones during this time. People were indoors. No one met. Like there was less human contact during this time. So it's kind of catchy. During the height of the global pandemic, I worked with Rema Ghana, which assisted troubled youth in returning to school or learning a skill. So get a your storytelling should align with what you want to do. If you are getting an MBA, what does working with Rema Ghana have to do with MBA or troubled youth? This one, I'm doing something related to mental health, criminal justice, psychology. You get me? So your storytelling, if you are working with, if you want an MBA, business administration, you should write something regarding, oh, maybe during the pandemic, you were delivering food and people had to pay for it. You can write something like that, something business-wise. So when the reader is reading, they know what you are talking about. And you can take a screenshot of my sample and use it. And you see, I wrote about the children. So the first paragraph should talk about your story. The next one should not talk about something catchy. It should be something your research interest and the research you've worked on. So the first one should be something regarding a storytelling, like how will I even say it? Your volunteering experiences. Then the second paragraph, you can write about your research. What have you done? What have you published? So this was a project that I worked with my supervisor, and we got a publication out of it, and I also used it for my thesis. So you write it there. You mention the professor's name, just as my brother rightly said. They're gonna maybe contact the professor to see if it's true. And you are also on Google Scholar, so they will check out your name. Is it true? Do you have a publication to your name? Yeah, so this is what I so he after I read the book, you can also write, you read the book. Americans like people who read. So you say, oh, I read this book, and that was the reason why. So when I was this one is my PhD, but when I was applying for my master's, I read Just Mercy. That is why I wanna offer I wanna get my master's in criminal justice. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what is happening. Okay, so this is the next page. So for Arizona State, they wanted 3 pages, but for masters, I think it's 2. It depends on the school, so just follow the requirements. So I wrote why I need a PhD, the research lab I want to work with, why I want to work in that research lab, and you have to mention maybe 2 professors you would like to work with. You can contact them. Some schools don't really like. For criminal justice, I don't think they really like you contacting the professors. Yeah, they want to look at your research background, if you have a strong research background, or yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, so that's it. And also, yeah, can you guys see?
Yeah, it's visible. You can see.
Okay, so this is my resume. This is my resume. Yeah, a lot of people use CVs, but yeah, okay. If I'm applying for a professorial position in the US, I think I will need a CV. But if it's for the corporate world, I think I need a resume. And for master's program, I don't think a resume would help. Would hurt. Yeah, you can just use a resume. So you can follow this template that I've used. First, I wrote the education. So resume is very strict. It's just 1 page. 1 page. It's CV that goes beyond 2. I think my brother will talk about it. So let me go back on the personal statement. So I said for my formative years in research and being a master's student of criminal justice. So if you've gotten your master's degree, just write what you did in your master's degree, where you volunteered. So I think I volunteered with a juvenile detention center. You need to write all those things in it. And your experience, just one line or two, should just be brief. And also another thing that schools like is when you know how to use these statistical softwares like Stata, R, SPSS, Python. Use this time to your advantage. Add value to yourself because you never know when it's going to be needed. You can learn all these things online on Coursera, Udemy. Coursera is free, and certifications, get certified, get how do they even call project management certifications. All these things count. You know, when people know you are adding value to yourself, they know that you add value to what they are going to be doing, and you are the one they need. Because a lot of people are putting in their applications, so you want to stand out. You don't want to be like everyone else. No. And the schools too, don't just limit to look at the schools, their acceptance rates. The acceptance rate of the schools, if it's 90% and all those things, look at the acceptance rates and start early. You know, for the personal statement, I got a lot of people to comment on it to help me write. I didn't write it alone. You need other people's voices to maybe check if there is an error in it. You need to also use Grammarly. Grammarly is free, so just use it. We have Qboat. These are softwares that help make things easier. You know, the English I'm speaking, if I'm writing it on paper, you can see what I'll score. Below 40. But when I put it in Qboat, like it adds a little flesh to what I'm saying. And it communicates better than what I want to say. It communicates better what I want to say. And yeah, to edit, start early, edit, let people help you so that they can maybe catch any grammatical or error or spelling error in your this and be specific. And another thing is contact the department. Maybe if you think, oh, I don't get this clearly. Oh, now I have the admission. How do I get funding? You contact your graduate advisor. That is another important thing you want to be doing. Contact your graduate advisor. Don't just sit there. Oh, I'm waiting for the admission. No, about 100 people applied. Why should we choose you? Because you contacted me, and maybe God may touch my heart and I want to admit you to work with me. So, yeah. And when you're applying, don't just apply to one school. No, one school, no. Who does that? Like, you need, this is your life. This is your future. So please invest. Apply to about 3 to 5. 5 wouldn't hurt. Yeah, apply to about 5 schools. You never know. You know, for my PhD, I applied to a couple of schools. Yeah. And I got fully funded admission to 2 schools. So just imagine if I had skipped those 2 schools, I would have said, oh, I'm not a good student. No, it's because you weren't ready to invest. So it's not that you are not good enough. It's just that you need to know that, no, this is your future and other people want the same opportunity. I see a lot of Nigerians in the US, and I'm like, where are Ghanaians? Yeah, there are Ghanaians also, but then the number of Nigerians, you see that it's an information problem. So whatever we say here, just use it to your advantage. Thank you. Yeah, I'll be waiting for the questions when the next speaker is done. Thanks for the opportunity.
So much.
Thank you very much, Yola. I thought it was you, but then thanks for the additional information that you provided. Can I share my screen?
Appreciate it.
Yes, please, you can.
Okay, so let me- Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so let me just wrap up with the planning your way to grad school. The process is like 1 year, as like we mentioned was mentioned by SK. If you notice that if you start this year, if you start today, your application journey, you are likely to end up in whatever destination you want to end up in by next year, 2026, either in January, February, or August. So for just the timeline, let's look at it. If you start your process now, if you prepare now by searching your program, building your online profile, you start searching like the programs that you want to apply to. This should start around March to June because for now, most of the applications that have scholarship are done. So if you want to enter school in 2026, you are supposed to start looking for the schools now. So that's it with the preparations. You start looking for your school, you look for the program, you need to build an online profile, you need to have a profile. You cannot just you be using your phone without having an online visibility. So LinkedIn is one of the best ways, I think. If you don't have a lot of money, you can just start from there. And then getting your materials ready, we talk about like your transcripts, ask your school about your transcripts, and then get your CV. For me, I think I have a lot of CVs, and you can have a master CV, and then after the master CV, for every application you have, you might kind of tweak your CV a little bit so that you're able to accommodate the requirements of that particular program. And you can even have as many as 4 CVs, just so that you're able to tweak them, shift them around when you have a particular special program that you want to apply to. Also look around for the recommendation letters. Recommendation letters are very hard to get in Ghana. So for me, one of the ways I kind of navigate this process is that you can talk to your professors. If you talk to a professor that, oh, I know you are very busy, I can help you by writing the recommendation, and then you can edit it so that anything that I didn't add, you can add it. Anything that you think is not important, you remove it. That way you are helping the professor to kind of help you. They are very busy. So if you have your own recommendation, you can tell them that, oh, professor, this is what I wrote about myself. A lot of students are applying for the programs and they are also requiring a recommendation. So professors don't really have time to write all these recommendations. And some of the professors also don't know you. So you need to kind of put in the effort to write some of them yourself. Talk to the professor that you have some recommendations that you have written. You want to show it to them. If they are okay with it, you can submit, they can submit it on your behalf so that you don't have a generic sort of CV for the schools. Same for the, what's the name? Statement of purpose, like you said, you need to have like variations of your purpose. You don't need to have like one purpose for criminology, for education. Like if you are switching between programs, because all programs are not the same in all the schools. So even if the program is the same across various schools, you notice that they are looking for something different. So that means you have to kind of tweak your statement of purpose almost all the time so that you are not out of reach for the program. And then your essays too. Those who don't have masters, if you don't have masters, you need to use your undergraduate research, which is like the essay that you wrote at the end of your final year in a bachelor. You don't have to write a long thing because writing takes time. So if you have a thesis that you wrote for your bachelor period, you can use that as your writing sample. That one is more refined. It doesn't have a lot of errors, and you can just say that this is a writing sample which kind of assesses your writing ability. So you need to use, like, you don't have to kind of write new kind of essays for application. You can use your bachelor of for like writing sample, unless your writing sample is sort of very different from the program you're applying to, which is maybe totally unrelated. But if it is a bit related, you don't have to worry. You can submit that, and then if you look at the application, for applications in the US, most of the applications start around July, August, September, depending on the school, but most of them start around August. So if you're applying to a US school, you should start around September, August. By December, most of the scholarships and like those that have funding would have ended. So if you want to apply to schools, if you start today, you start to search the schools. After searching the schools, by August, you start applying. So August, September, October, November, December. Those are like the 4 or 5 months that you can seriously apply to schools. And by December, everybody is done with the application that will give funding. Then you wait for next year around March or February to receive your admission letter. Then you start processing your visa. So you need to take note of the timeline. it mostly starts around August. So if you start today, you might sort of be ready before then. If you take notice of our national service here, by the time national service is starting, that's when the applications are also starting. So if you're a student, it kind of helps you. So immediately you are starting national service, you have to also start the application. So if you have not made your plans yet, you have to start making that plan that immediately you are starting national service, you are starting your school application, and that should help you to prepare for the program, like program applications. For UK, it's also the same around September, August, September, October, November. UK is the same. Canada too is the same. So take note of August to December, which is like the time period to apply for schools. And then after you have applied, you wait for them, which is next year, 2026, to get your admission and all of that. And then after they have admitted you, or maybe before they even admit you, they might ask for interviews. So that period you apply or wait for them to contact you for interviews. After interviews, maybe they might give you admission. And some of the masters, they don't have interviews. So that's another safe way. You don't have to think about like what you would say during the interviews. Most of the masters, they don't ask for interviews, but for PhD, they might ask for interviews, and you have to prepare towards that. So this is like the part on the typical process the application looks like. But then for the CV and resumes, I would advise that yes, we all know about CVs, and then we also know about resumes. CVs are more detailed, resumes are a bit shorter. If you want to apply to schools, I advise you use your CV, because CV has like more details, your application, your skills, some of the things you are interested in, and then some of your research. So your name, your education, if you have any award, if you are in school, you were on the dean's list. Maybe some of the schools like KNUST, they had a dean's list. If you topped your department in a semester, or if your CWA or GPA was very good in a particular semester, that's also an award. You need to have a section and include all of them in the CV. And like you said, there is a lot of civic engagement and community service in the US, and they would want to see that you are committed to your community. So even if you are not committed to things of the community, try and volunteer to teach in a school. Try to do community service like Rotary Club. Maybe they do some community engagement. Even if you are not part of them, you can just try to join their meetings when they are cleaning maybe the streets or anything, just community service, so that it shows that you are committed to helping your community to develop. So that way, that will help you to get more funding in the US or even in the UK. Most of the professors, they like people who are kind of community engaged. And then also consider your employment history, which is like if it's not related so much to the academic program, you don't have to so much bother about them. But it is good you have an employment history, and treat your national service as an employment history. Treat your internships as an employment history, and also all the things you have done in the past, which are like maybe 2 months, 3 months, like put the dates over there, like I would show you in the next presentation. And then if you have any small conference or seminar that you joined, which is like important, you can also include it. And then the technical skills. Most of the advanced countries, they are more kind of related to science, STEM. So if you know about how to use R, if you know about how to use SPSS, if you know how to use all those softwares, you can add it. It's a very good skill to have. So if you have those technical skills like using SPSS or maybe using R or any sort of software, it might help to kind of include them. And then your experiences, you need to also note like experiences that are important, which like I will show you in the next slide. So there are no limits on your strength. Like write anything that you think is important for your application. If you just did something small and you want to add it and you think it is important, maybe you volunteered at a place, you said, okay, you were a teacher at somewhere, you should include all of those. And then include a list of your publications and presentations from your coursework. It does not have mostly to be your publication, because by the time you are doing your bachelor, you don't have publications, but in your classes, you presented on some particularly important topics. So you can kind of remember or recollect some of those topics that you presented on, and then have a list of them, those that are important for the program. You highlight that, okay, list of presentations, and then you list the topic. So if you list the topic of that presentation, it helps them to know the kind of background that you have built and the background you are from, in terms of maybe if you are reading political science, you have presented on things on political development. All those presentations sort of help them to know that, okay, you have some grounding in the particular field. And then References section, sometimes it's not important. You just have to put that it is available upon request. But I always advise that we should focus on naming the people we are kind of interested in them providing references so that it doesn't come by surprise when they ask for your references. So there are resume and then there is CV. CVs are shorter, just like you said. CVs have very short length, and you don't want to submit resumes for most of the scholarship applications. You submit CV because CVs are longer, they talk more about you, and then they are also very good for like selling yourself. And then another thing I would kind of always buttress is that every person should have a LinkedIn profile. Everybody should download a LinkedIn. If you have not taken anything from this conference, try and download the LinkedIn. If you go there, upload your picture, you write an about section, and then an experience section. In the LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is one of those best things that people in undergraduate don't really pay attention to. And even some of the master students don't really kind of take it as very important, but it's very good. If you go to LinkedIn now, you might download the app. If you download the app, you kind of start searching. You just search for people who are kind of doing, maybe if you're interested in development studies, try to include in the search, you search for development studies and follow other people who are doing development studies. That way, you'll be getting feeds on development studies. That's what we call professional network. If you're interested in education, just type education and people who are in education will appear on your kind of the list there. Follow them, connect with them. I think the minimum people sort of are supposed to connect to is like 500. So you can use the opportunities to connect with a lot of people, and that will help you to get a lot of information regarding, oh, this is the programs that people are reading, this is what people are interested in, this is what is trending, and it helps you to build your profile, and that will help your connection too. So everybody should have a LinkedIn profile. You should download it. It's not, most people say it's used for hyping, but I think for students who want scholarships, who want jobs, LinkedIn is one of the best places. And you, like, if you follow people who are within your field, you have to follow people who are within your field. It does not come automatically. You have to do your own search, which is like type education in LinkedIn, or maybe the field you are in, maybe chemical engineering. And a lot of people who come who are doing chemical engineering, some of them maybe they are doing masters in chemical engineering, some of them are in professional chemical engineering. You follow them, and that's your network, and you start building from there. And you don't have to have a lot of experience to connect with all these people. Immediately they see your profile and they notice that, oh, you have a picture on your profile, you have an about section, you have an experience section. They will follow you and they will connect with you. Another thing, if you are applying for schools, is to look for the cold emails. Like, try to contact people who are in that field, your professors, go to websites and then apply. Send them emails to just ask about, oh, please, you are interested in applying for this program. You want to know more whether they have funding or maybe whether they have any requirements, like can they waive your GRE? If you are in social science, most of the time they can waive GRE. So you just have to ask. If you ask, they are able to waive it for you, and you don't have to worry so much about paying for, what's the name? Asking, like paying for GRE. You can actually email people. So feel comfortable emailing people about, oh, you put on your request that, please, is it possible to like waive all these requirements? If they can, they can waive it for you. And another thing, you kind of, if you start today, that you want to enter school in 2026, these are some of the things you can do. You start with a simple Google search. Search terms may include like graduate programs in maybe USA, UK, Canada. If you go to Canada, there are universities. If you go to UK, US, there are universities. I've applied to schools in the UK. I've applied to schools in the USA. I noticed that you just need to go to the website. But if you don't know the schools, then graduate programs in maybe the location will sort of help. And then, so this is like an example. Graduate programs at the University of Delaware. This one is particularly related to a school. But if you want to just Google search like graduate program in the US, that will help you to kind of see which programs are reading, and then you include your programs that you're interested in. And then I have a list of resources. So the resources, this is like opportunity corners. I used to have it when I was kind of looking for scholarships in the past. It has they post any kind of scholarship, from conferences, scholarships, anything just you can think of which relates to opportunity. So if you're interested in opportunity, you can follow the link. I will drop the PowerPoint in the chat. If you follow opportunity corners and you click the link, they will tell you that they want to be sending you notifications. You can click OK, and then they'll be sending notifications. You can also include your email, and then they'll be sending emails to your email. Up to now, they still send me emails. Sometimes I see them, sometimes maybe it's not important to me, I ignore. But if you are looking for scholarships, these are some of the ways you kind of apply for scholarships. Like looking for scholarships that are kind of up and trendy. They are coming every day, and you just kind of get the updates. And then Steady Green, I used to use Steady Green back in 2018 or so. And then since I got my first scholarship, I got my first scholarship through a Steady Green notification. So if you want to really kind of know, not just USA schools, but every school from Korea to everywhere, just go to Opportunity Corner or Steady Green and click on notification, and they will give you notification on any scholarship that kind of comes, any opportunity, any conference. They provide all of those. So in project 2026, which is like if you want to enter school in 2026, you can start today, which is like March. We are entering March next week. So if you start next week, you start searching your program. So you can identify schools, 3 schools, 3 to 5 weeks, 3 to 5 schools in a week. You create a document to kind of like, okay, noting the programs you want to apply to. And then you have to update your LinkedIn. If you don't have LinkedIn, after this meeting, download the LinkedIn and then create your profile. You don't want to have a blank profile, or else people will not connect back if you connect with them. And then also, if you search on LinkedIn to find names of programs and schools, that's where you will see what programs people are reading. If you're in the field of education, you just search on LinkedIn education. You'll see instructional technology, which programs people are reading, and then you start thinking about them. Most of my scholarships and schools that I kind of get ideas about, I see them on LinkedIn. So if somebody else applied and they got admission, then I'm like, okay, maybe I can also go and see what is happening on their school website, and then I will see if I can apply. If the requirements are okay, I will apply. So that's just it. And also, one of the things I missed was that I have added a Google Drive to this slide. It's about finding schools. I have added when I was applying to schools, I used to have a folder, a file that kind of have some list of schools, but I'll share it with you very soon. So this is some of the things you have to do in 2026 if you want to apply to schools 2026 and get admission. You do some of these things, search for the schools, create a list of schools, update your LinkedIn, because you find people who are in your subject area on that website, on that LinkedIn. You will find programs, you will find what is trendy, what topics are people researching. Those are some of the things that are very important on LinkedIn. And you have to connect with people to be able to know what people are doing. And so I will sort of end now and then show you my last files before you go. I'm stopping this share and then sharing other things. So let me, so this is share. So this is a folder I just created. I might add more things as time goes on, but everyone can access this folder, and you'll be able to download things that are here. So I've added a sample CV, how to see a CV, like the format, the things that are important. Some Nigerians have a lot of resources on some of the schools application. So you can always follow some of those YouTube channels. They have a lot of details. I use this profile evaluation of schools. It's more like seeing the schools, what are some of the programs they are doing, and then the categories some of them are in. If you use some of this, it will help refine your search and then how to also kind of apply. And then there is an SOP sample also over there. So you can kind of just locate all of this in the PowerPoint I will drop in the chat. Another thing which is very important I would like to share with you is that this is a this is an evaluation I used to use some time back. Please, can you all see? It contains okay, initially had GRE. If your program is a social science, sometimes you can ask the program for waiver and they'll waive it for you. But aside that, I need to wrap this up quickly. So if you go to the list, it has like, okay, let's say what are category A schools? Category A, like A plus. You know how in Ghana we have all these A school, B school, like USA today have some of those like A plus schools. So A plus schools, some of them, they will not waive the GRE for you. So you have to write it. It has like all these top schools that you know of. A minus, A plus schools, and then A schools. You can see there are all the list of schools. Not all of the schools are here, but this is like a guide to sort of evaluating schools that are in A or maybe B. I used this in the past. The list is updated, but then these are some of the things I used. So this is like University of Delaware. It is in A minus. I don't know which category it is in now, but it has this R1 status. So if the university is R1, they have more funding, they have more research, and they have more activities going on. So they have more money to fund like people who are applying to their program. But these are some of the things you have to consider when applying to the schools. The schools are like, so we have B plus, like all the schools there. They are all in the folder that I shared with you in the PowerPoint. So you'll find the school list here. Another thing I would share before I end the presentation is this CV. This CV is this CV is a CV I found from Dr. He's a doctor now. I think he's a doctor now, but previously he was doing his PhD and he shared this. So the interest is not really so important if you are applying for a master's. If you're applying for a master's, you just want to highlight your education. So you go for maybe bachelor. I did my bachelor here, and then you also add your secondary school kind of profile. And then research experience. The research experience, this is where I talked about. You have to include things that you presented on when you were in school. So when you were in undergraduate, you presented some topics in your class. You can list some of those important topics under the research experience section. If you did your bachelor in undergrad too, you can put the topic over there. So the topic is something you can put here, which is like a research experience. And then other things you might want to include is your, what's the name? Awards. So awards, like I mentioned, if you kind of topped your program in a particular semester, Dean's Award, prize giving award, you can include them in that kind of profile. The volunteering, if you did volunteering somewhere and it was a teaching experience, categorize it under teaching experience. You don't have to go to be a teacher before you can add it as your experience. But if you're a teacher or you have taught some course before, these are some of the things you can add under the teaching experience, or a research experience if you have done some research in the past or you have presented. If you don't have publications, you don't have to worry about it because publications are kind of very laborious and it's kind of tedious. But try to write things that are maybe a blog. If you have a blog, like blog article, like prepare yourself for grad school. And one of the things you'll be doing in grad school is writing. So try to write topics that are kind of relevant, important, and add them as your kind of, you will not call them publications, but they call them research articles. If you write a research article or research presentation and then you add it here, it will not spoil a thing. So these are some of the things you might want to pay attention to if you want to apply. It also has a code email. This code email is very long, but I think it gives you a guide on, if you're writing to a professor, some of the things you might want to include. And then it has, what's the name? Yeah. There's also just normal email that you want to add to the, what's the name, send to a professor asking about, is there funding? Do you have anything in your program that you think I should know before I apply? If you ask them about, is there anything I will need to know before I apply to the program? Maybe they might not reply you, but some of them will be very charitable to tell you that, oh, our program, we are not accepting PhD students. Because when I was applying to schools, I used to send very harmless emails to professors. Some of them, they will tell me, oh, I'm not accepting PhD students this year. I'm only accepting master students. That information will help me not to waste my time to apply. So anytime you are on your application process and you have any critical information, you might want to just like ask more people like on the program list, maybe a professor, a program coordinator, just to know what they are thinking, and then they might be able to advise you. You don't have to be kind of scared asking them questions. So I think I'll end my presentation here. If you have any questions, we'll answer them.
Very well. Thank you so much. This has been very educative. Our time is very up, but I would want all of us to spare about 20 minutes. Let's ask our questions. Anything that your mind that, yes, please.
Yeah, let's proceed. Okay. We were supposed to do 2 hours, but I think we didn't get the communication well.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Let's continue. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So I will please Mr. Doe, if you could drop the link in the chat for us. A lot of people are asking. Yeah. So please, from here, if you have a question, you raise your hand, and then we give you the platform. Then you could ask the question. Okay. So we'll take the question from Mr. John Buabing. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is John Buabin Jamra from Ghana, as you rightly said. First of all, I commend Dr. Donatus for the education. This is very informative and this is very educative. And most people go about applying to grad school without getting it. And these are some of the petty things that we do that we don't get admission. Now, fast forward to my submission and my question. I am a teacher by profession. I read diploma in basic education. I have taught for 7 years. I did my top up in KNUST. I read Bachelor of Arts Sociology major with social work minor. Now, moving forward, I applied last year to University of Massachusetts, Amherst, to do student affairs education program, but I wasn't given an admission. They didn't offer me admission. But based on the letter they gave me, I was wondering if I was denied admission based on the fact that I didn't do education for my first degree or something of that sort. That is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I would like to answer that question. Anytime you put in an application and you get a rejection, try to ask the graduate coordinator why you were rejected, why other people got accepted, and why you were rejected. So that moving forward, if there was something you missed, they could like help you. So it won't like hurt to send them an email, like a code email. Oh, I put in my application. I thought I put in a good application, but I got a rejection. What can I do moving forward? Yeah, because I really like your program and I think I can contribute to your program. So what can I do? And is that the only school you apply to? If that's the only school, moving forward, sociology, you can apply to masters in sociology in the US. You can also apply to criminal justice. There are a lot of programs. Social work doesn't have a lot of funding, but you can still give it a try. So you can apply to criminal justice. There are a lot of schools that would like to give you admission. Yeah, just look at the requirements. If one school rejects you, that doesn't, it could also be that maybe they didn't have funding and they didn't want to like waste your time by giving you an admission, since you're an international student and you need funding to come to the US. So try to find out why you got rejected and apply to about 3 to 5 schools. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would also want to add that earlier I mentioned that it is important for you to contact a faculty member before applying. So in this case, if you were to contact a faculty member and you've already built a rapport with the faculty member, it could be easy to find out why am I not considered for the program. Yeah, and also one thing I know is that I mentioned during my presentation that a lot of departments are the title or the course program might sound sociology, but what they specialize in might not be what you're interested in. So you need to find out their specialization in the department. And some department I have seen in my school are more interdisciplinary department. My department, I have medical doctors in my department. I have physicists in my department. I have chemists in my department. But the program is instructional technology, which is a branch in education. But they take in all these students from different backgrounds because they believe that the program, whatever you learn, can be applied in different fields. So you have to find out some of those things so that you don't get disappointed when you are not selected. Going forward, I want to tell the moderator if you can take maybe 2 or 3 questions together, then that will help in responding to them. Thank you.
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. Please, any more questions? Okay, I don't see any hand here, but some people sent the questions directly. First one, they want to know the merit-based, need-based, and the research-based scholarship. What are the differences between them? And then also want to know that does all the graduate students, or I mean, to be a graduate student, do you need to be a researcher, and like does all graduate applications require research experience and then writing skills?
Okay, please, can I go? All right, sure. All right, so for the first part, I want to say that the merit base, well, the research funding or the kind of project funding is also a merit base anyway. But some schools have scholarships that are not related to teaching and research. So you are applying for a PhD program. Maybe faculty members have over here. If you're a faculty member and you are on a research project, you are required to recruit graduate student into your lab. It's a requirement by the university. Then you pay the student from your lab, your project fund. So you can get to work in a lab that is funding for me. So from my funding, as I mentioned earlier, I'm supposed to work 20 hours every week in my lab, and I don't do teaching. I don't do classroom teaching. Then aside that, from the work I'm doing, that becomes my funding. They pay my school fees from the same project, and then also pay my stipend for me monthly. So that is how that one operates. Now the second part is the teaching that. When you are taking on the teaching fund, you are supposed to teach, mostly is by the department. You are supposed to teach 20 hours a week. Some department will allow you to take maybe 2 or 3 courses to teach undergrad, and that will account for that. Or you'll be working with a faculty member to teach or grade student. I noticed that in my school, those who are doing masters, they are not allowed to teach, but rather are allowed to examine students. So they go to the class with a faculty member, and then they are supposed to mark the script and all those things, take the student for field work and all those ones, and that account for the 20 hours. But if you are taking on a scholarship from the department, or the scholarship, university scholarship, any other scholarship, those ones are mostly not tied to any work, either teaching or research. But from what I have seen, the research ones and then the teaching, I see them to be very common that you can easily jump on. That is what I can say with that.
I would like to add to what my brother just said. So merit-based scholarship, just as the name implies, is for merit, accomplishment, and achievement. And maybe if you have a higher test score, maybe your GRE score is very high, or your GPA, or it's for athletes or people with special talent. I would say the US usually gives research scholarship, that is graduate assistantship. So that should be your focus, getting a graduate assistantship. So when after you put in your application for social sciences, I don't think contacting an advisor is like the requirement to get in an admission. Just put in an application, and then maybe after the application you can just contact the graduate advisor and ask the graduate advisor that oh, how can I get a graduate assistantship? How can I get an assistantship from your department? Or they can, if they don't have any graduate assistantship in the department, they will tell you, oh, the school has centers. So maybe we have Center for Teaching and Learning. You can apply to that center. We have other departments that have scholarships. So you may get an admission in the criminal justice department, but your funding or your graduate assistantship may be from career services. I don't know if you guys get me. So the most important thing is graduate assistantship, which comes with a tuition waiver. So the tuition waiver kind of like gives you 100% scholarship. So all you have to pay is your student fees, which you can use your stipend, your monthly your stipend to pay. That's kind of like your monthly pay to pay for the fees. So your main goal right now for the US, if you are targeting the US, your main goal should be getting a graduate assistantship. If it's a research assistant, or teaching, just tell the graduate advisor, can you put me in touch with an international student in that department? So when you are put in touch with an international student or a student in that department, the student knows the funding in that department. So they'll let you know, oh, apply to this place, apply to this funding. Yeah, I think basically that's it.
I think the other information we need to add is that, so for the US, they don't have, is it free money? So even if you are getting an assistantship, either it is a research assistantship or it is a teaching assistantship, any of them, sometimes also you might be working outside of all these field, teaching assistantship or graduate assistantship. So that's it for the merit-based or whatever regarding like scholarship and assistantship. And then the other scholarships, which is like if you apply to the UK, maybe let's say University of Oxford, University of Cambridge, or universities that are in the Canada, they have this thing called need-based. So the need-based in that regard is related to how poor you have been, or maybe your condition at home is not so good. And that way you have to also show leadership. So your leadership experience, giving back to the community, would help you in gaining that need-based scholarship. And it's mostly not in the US. Most of the need-based scholarships are related to, like, if you're applying to the UK, MasterCard is funding something, Commonwealth is funding something, or Canada, MasterCard is funding something. So they give you based on your need, and you have to give some essays that kind of highlight how you are able to fund your education from bachelor, how you made it, your pathway, and then your resilience. So that those are some of the things you need to pay attention to if you're applying to schools in the UK and Canada.
Okay, thank you very much. There is a question in the chat. I'll read this and then Mr. Wonder will go ahead and ask his question, then you answer the question. So the question in the chat is saying that a friend got an admission to do Masters in Education at Sterling University, but the scholarship is expecting as delayed. Please, any advice on the next move to take, please? So Brawanda, please, you can go ahead and ask your question. They will add it to it and then answer.
All right, thank you. My first question is scholarship available for undergraduate courses, especially for medicine? And if it is available, is it that easy to get? And the two, something I've found recently frustrating is this recommendation. What I know is a recommendation is in two parts, either personally known to you or officially. By side, the second one is not being applied or not known, or maybe it's not understood. Like, for example, as a teacher, thinking education office can help me by using the other means, official means, they were basing it on that they don't know me personally. But I say by officially you can know me. They've asked me, what is that? I say, oh, they should rather be asking that. But interestingly, I just walked straight to the court, to the registrar. She was able to do that for me without anything and accepted. So I just want to find out if that one is being erased. Is it straight that the person must be known to you personally, or the official means of knowing you is cancelled, or it's not being used? I just want to know, or it's not more in the system. Thank you.
Line for payment.
Yeah, so the
okay.
one who asked the Sterling question, so the most of the UK universities, unless it is Oxford, Cambridge, and Manchester, there are some big universities in UK that if you apply to, they give you funding, and then, or if they don't give you funding, they kind of help you to get funding from other sources. The schools like Sterling, they don't have a lot of funding, so you need to wait to apply with like scholarships like Commonwealth Scholarship, Commonwealth Mastered Scholarship, Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. Or if you're unable to get that, you have to get funding from Ghana, which is like a scholarship secretariat. I don't know how strong your connections are, but those are the process. So if you have an admission from Sterling and they don't give you funding, sometimes they have small fundings that they give. It's very small compared to the school fees. So if you don't have any external funding, it will be very hard to kind of enter the program unless you apply to external funding. So you have to apply to places like Commonwealth Shared. There is Commonwealth Shared, and then there is also Commonwealth Masters. If you apply to these two scholarships within this time, I'm not sure they are open currently. The timeline is mostly in August to December. So maybe next year you might have to plan towards that. Because if you apply to all these universities, they don't have internal funding that will cover all the full funding. So still, you have to ask them whether they have internal funding. And if they don't have, then you have to apply to Commonwealth Shared or Commonwealth Masters. Those are the only kind of organizations that sort of kind of augments the fees. And probably Ghana. Ghana, they have a scholarship secretariat or those institutional bodies that fund scholarship to the UK. Aside that, then maybe personally you have to pay yourself.
Yeah, to
The one who, okay.
question. Yeah. Okay, I would like to go first. Yeah, Brownda is my friend. How are you doing, Brownda? Yes, so to your question, I think it's just GS that is trying to like give you a tough time. It's not about knowing someone personally. It's not too personal. Like, how personal can you know someone? It's just about being my lecturer. Like in the US, it's so easy to get a recommendation. You just walk to your lecturer. Oh, I took your class and maybe I made an A or B in your class. Can you give me a recommendation? And they give you, for in Ghana, writing is kind of like, it's not part of our culture. It's not something we do. It's not a habit. So, when you tell someone to write something like a recommendation for you, it's like putting the person on the spot, like bringing out the person's weakness. A lot of people are not good writers, or they don't like writing. So I think that's one of the things. So just as my brother said, that maybe recommend that, oh, I would like to write it for you. All you have to do is to upload it. And I really need this. Yeah, just keep being persistent. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I want to respond to the next question because it's something I would like to mention as well. The issue about the bank statement. Yeah, so for me, I want to recommend that right now, as you are thinking of applying for school, start building your bank statement. So your account, you can tell your family members, if somebody have a $5,000, $2,000 cedis, they can put into your account. After a week, you withdraw it for them. So you are building your own statement. So you are building your own statement before the time come. And so what happens is that if you get admission and then your admission is coming with the funding, definitely there are portions. If it's not a full funding, there might be portions that you have to pay yourself. That is why they will ask you to provide a bank statement, a statement that shows that, well, there's X amount of money in the account that in case of need, that money can be used for you, and you give to the school. Then the school issue out your I-20. And there are other instances where maybe you are coming with family. You are coming with family. When you add your wife or your spouse, they will calculate the expenses for your spouse and add it to whatever you have to provide yourself as a statement, and that sometimes also increase the statement. And also I want to mention that immediately you are not going to get a full funding, your fees is not going to be covered. Just don't come. I mean, you might not like my answer, but it's very tough. I hear people say that, oh, when I come, I can come and work. I can work and pay the money and all those things. But if your school fees is covered, fine. Because my school fees for a whole year with my expenses is almost around $50,000. Which work will I do in the US as an F1 holder to be able to get this money in a year? I mean, because F1 holders, you are allowed to work 20 hours. So if you are already working in the research or you are doing the teaching, 20 hours is gone. So you don't have any time. Before even your academics, the kind of things you have to provide weekly, submit weekly, reading before you go to class, They are all different things that will not even give you the attention to say you want to go and look for a job somewhere and go and do. There are some states that, well, they might have under-table jobs, but a pure white state, you will not even get to one to say you want to do to get money to pay your fees. So I would want to recommend that right now, start building your account. All you want to do is that money is going through your account. So when you print your statement, it shows that, well, there's money that passes through your account all the time. And get a family member or someone who, maybe if you need $1,000 statement or a $5,000 statement, can use to back you. People talk about the issue about getting this loan from, there's this common one,
Empower
loan and all. Well, it might work for people, but I don't recommend people to use Empower loan and the others to come, because it's not a free thing. I like the way you put it. America doesn't give free things. Like, sometimes I ask myself that I am strictly supposed to work 20 hours. Sometimes my advisor will tell me that, hey, Steven, you are owing me 2 hours. So you add your 2 hours to next week. I'm like, how? Like, I'm tired. You see, they don't give free things. They make sure you work for it. So it is important that if you know your fees is not catered for, just don't try to force yourself and say you want to come and you can work and pay the school fees, because it's very, very, very tough. I think that is what I can say. So work hard to get funding. When you get funded, why not? If you get funding, in my case, I'm only supposed to provide $1,000. That was the bank statement I needed, $1,000. And then when I added my wife, it increased to, I think, $6,000 or $7,000. So it's very simple. When you get your funding, it's very easy. And there's one thing I also came to meet, is that there's some other fees that we pay called, is it out of state or international student body fees? It's different from every university. I'm sure you can share your own, because my school, every semester I pay close to $900 myself. That is for like international student fees or something. And I know one friend in the university that they pay close to $2,000. And these are monies that you have to be taking from your stipend monthly and be keeping down. So imagine you have the main fees to pay, which is your school fees again, from your stipend. How is that going to be? So let's work hard, let's seek advice and get funding. That will help all of us. I think I'm okay with that.
Very, very well taken. Yes. Please, any more questions? Any more questions?
Okay, hello. I
Yeah.
don't know if my first question was answered, if it's easy to get scholarship to do undergrad courses.
Yes, sorry.
medicine.
Yes, sorry. So I think I have a couple of friends who have done medicine, and if you ask them, medicine in America is very expensive. So the Americans themselves even take loan to go to medical school. So they take loan to go to medical school. So if you see a lot of people who are here, who raise their children up, they rather want their children to go to do medicine in Africa, because our own that we are seeing that you are paying 17,000, 20,000 a year, to them it's very cheap. So you see that more people from here rather want to do it in back home. There are some that there'll be a 50-50 payment, and their medicine too is not a straight away medicine we do in Ghana for the 6 years. And that is one thing. If you're interested in that, please find out what they don't do the straight 6 years medical school. There are different structure they follow. So, Brawanda, we can talk about that one. I can find out to know the dynamics, but they are not straight away fundings that you want to go to medical school for an undergrad. I know.
Yeah, I can also.
Most of them here go for loans, and then when they start working, they start deducting the money from their salaries. Yes.
Yeah, so they have they call it the bachelor route to be earning a medicine degree. And from Ghana, you have to do something like related to biological science. It's not really kind of specified, but then if you notice the Harvard student who was from Kitasco, the lady, she wanted to do medicine, but then later she read something on, I think, biological science or so. So they admit you, and if you don't have like a master's, you have to write a TOEFL. Is it? No, not TOEFL. They call it a SAT, S-A-T, the exam. If you write that, then you're able to get a program here, which is closely related to medicine, but which is not medicine, which is more like preparing you to be able to read the medicine later. So I think basically you have to write a SAT or TOEFL, but I think SAT is the best approach. If you have a good SAT score, that will help you to enter a biological science or a program related to medicine, and then later when you enter the program, you'll be able to do medicine later at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Wanda. Okay, roughly how much money? I think this one has been answered based on the school, your fees, and whether you have funding, and so the remaining amount that you would have to pick up for yourself. That is what you would have to show. There's one here says, is there an age limit for master's or doctoral program at the USA? So let's keep this question. I'll call Cephas Seram to ask his question, and then Lois will also go ahead. Then we will answer both. Okay. So Cephas, go ahead.
Right. Thank you very much, good people. Please, I want to find out, like we have in Ghana, sandwich courses in universities. Do we have sandwich courses in the UK, Canada, the US, and other countries also that way? Thank you. If we have, you kindly educate me a bit on them. Thank you very much.
I think they call them professional programs, and professional programs, some of them are like 1 year, some of them 2 years, depending on. But if you want to read professional program, which is like sandwich in Ghana, it's kind of a lot costly. And if you are entering from Ghana, you have to have a big bank statement because they don't provide a scholarship for people who are doing sandwich. It is assumed you are kind of doing the course for your own self to advance your professional career. So that way you have to pay for it. And people who are doing professional programs in the US, for instance, they are teachers, they are school administrators, and they have their own money. So they don't fund it because you are not having the time to help a professor to do their research. So that's what you need to know. That sandwich here is more of a professional course. They call it professional programs. And it's mostly like depending on your availability. But you need to have your money to pay up front. And I don't know, but you have to show bank statement before you can be able to move from Ghana to come and do the professional programs here. I know a lady who did a professional program here, but then she used their own bank statement, no funding, just come. You need to have your own money because you'll be paying the fees and you'll be doing your own thing. You don't have to do any research or work for anybody. So that's it for the sandwich.
Yeah, so I think the issue about the bank statement, let me just mention this. You know, when you present the bank statement to the embassy and then to the university, they assume that that money is available for you. But we know that, you see, the money, the one who gave me the statement is not going to move the money into my account. He's not going to give me the money. Now you use the statement to get a visa. When you come into the country, it means that you need that amount of money they require to survive. So sometimes when you're able to, let's say you are asked to look for a statement of about 20,000 and you get it, you're able to get your visa. It doesn't mean that when you come, they are going to assume that yes, that person can be giving you some money when you are here. But we know that when we got a statement from, no, they can't give us the money. So to them, you are comfortable in the country, but you know they're going to suffer. So for me, I still want to state that if you, I can see my sister saying that, oh, the church can give a statement. Maybe we have to talk to the chaplain, get some chaplain, if they can institute something like that for those who want to come to school outside, who have gotten funding and maybe some statement to back themselves. If the church can be a support, maybe GETSAM can be a support to that. For the local church, I'm sure it's going to be a tough journey if a church will give you a statement. So please and please, let's try rather and get funding. It will make our life very easy for you. When I check my stipend, I realize that these people, they are very smart. They calculate what you will eat 3 times a day, a meal. They calculate it for the whole month, and that is what they are giving you as stipend. So that's the way they calculate that. Okay, so if you eat 3 times a day, my school, they have a dining, so you can choose to channel your stipend to the dining. That money can reach you to eat and maybe small to also pay for your rent. That is how they do the calculation. So it's not that big. It's only that when you convert the money into Ghana cedis, it's like big. But the other part is that you are not spending the money in Ghana. You are spending the money in their system. Yeah, so let's try as much as possible to work on getting funding that can cater for our trip, and then we will say my school, every department, I'm sure the department will do those things too. So a friend of mine told me when she was coming, she got a $5,000 relocation funds. So immediately she settled in. The school just paid her $5,000, and she used to settle in. And I had that in mind. But when I came, I was giving only $1,000. I'm like, oh, why? Like I needed the 5,000 to use to settle in and balance my thing. So it depends on the school. But you getting your funding, for me, is a very big requirement for you to come and live a comfortable life. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One about the age limit.
All right. Thank you very much.
I don't think there's an age limit, and also to add to what my brother said, when you get the funding, you can get a 100% tuition waiver, but you still have some deficit. It doesn't mean that you are gonna need that money to pay. Like for me, for instance, I had almost $7,000 deficit. It didn't, I still had full funding, but I still had $7,000. So I needed that bank statement to like help me relocate to the US. And I didn't suffer. I didn't have a hard time. And schools have food pantries. So I would encourage people to come. No matter if you get 50% scholarship, please give it a try. Like the Bible says, the 4 lepers, they took the risk, so just take the risk in faith, and God will help you.
Yeah, take the first leap of faith. The first step is all is needed.
I like that. I like that coming. Okay, Sister Lois, you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. So according to the speakers, what I noticed, we getting our thesis and long essays. Yeah, and then I want to ask that, like, some of us, I think when we were in Legon, we had the option of choosing between writing either a long essay or taking 2 additional courses. So I want to ask, if I don't have the long essay and this stuff, it doesn't mean I can't apply. Are my options done? Yeah.
You have a lot of options, just that you have more work to do. Because if they ask for writing sample for maybe some of the masters, instead of maybe starting from scratch, if you had a long essay, maybe it helps you to just move from there. Because for many, writing takes a long time. And if you are just writing an essay for an application, then you have to start like really early, right, on a topic. It should be a long essay, because the schools, they want to sort of test whether you are good at writing, or maybe, and the writing, they look at like how you are organizing your thoughts, how your skills are kind of, and I think the essay was a way to sort of check that. But if you don't have it from school, then you can now have to sit down to write on a topic of your interest, and you have to dedicate more time to develop it, like an essay that you might submit to an academic work, because they sort of sit down to analyze the essay you submit to see whether you are like logically kind of coherent, so that they will kind of admit you. So if you don't have it from school, it means you have to write it yourself when you're home or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so also to add that, so some requirement for master's student to be maybe a 5 pages, a 3 pages writing sample. They might not ask a whole thesis. And see, so you can, so as you are done, any of the, so along the especially in Legon, I mean the 4th year, you do some write-up, some 10 papers. Some of those you can expand it, and then let somebody have a look at it for you. That, see whether I'm meeting the requirement for maybe a write-up, and the person can guide you to do that. But also, now that you are doing service, if you are doing service or you are just there, join collaboration teams. People are doing data collection, they are doing some project in your department, you are service personnel, join that team, and also play a role, and that can reflect on your CV that I was part of this project. Maybe this is the role I played. I help in data collection, or I help in searching articles for writing a literature review or something. So take part now. It's never late. People come in without even submitting the research writing sample, and they are still able to get in. So that's not a problem. But you need the skill yourself as well, not only just for a requirement. You need the skill for graduate studies. Yeah.
Yeah, I would also like to add to what my brother said. So one thing you should do is just use the internet to your advantage. Whatever topic they are asking you to write on, look at the school's requirements. If the school requires you writing a sample, just go on the internet and see what other people have written on that same topic and take some of their ideas, add your ideas to it. Maybe if it's a project you've worked on, and you can also talk to other lecturers or researchers to ask for their views. Yeah, just I don't know if it's Brother Do that talked about you having a LinkedIn platform. So you can just check what other people are doing, take their ideas. Oh, is AI helping the US? What cybersecurity awareness? Maybe I've written something on it. Go to my page, look at what I've done, look at what others have done. Bring up the ideas. Within the shortest possible time, you have a 5-page essay. It's not that difficult.
Cephas is asking why we.
Cephas, I know him personally. I know Cephas. Cephas, you want to remain in Ghana, remain in Ghana. But for me,
but we had our programs in Ghana, so
yeah. In my case, I had 3 degrees from Ghana, University of Ghana. I have my first degree. I have 2 masters from Legon, and my special area, the area I want to specialize, which is instructional technology, we don't have one now in Ghana currently. The only countries we have in Africa is just South Africa is having one related, and then Nigeria. But Nigeria, they have it only as a master's. So I mean, I thought it wise of just living. But again, I feel that there are 1,001 reasons why somebody wants to leave Ghana to study abroad. The environment alone, the infrastructure, and what you see around. My class, we are 10 in my class, and I'm the only black person in my class. And you come and sit among these people. I remember my first day in class, I brought my foolscap notebook with pen to come and take notes. And I got to the class, everybody brought laptop and tablet, and then as they were teaching, you just hear the keyboard, they are typing. Now when you take your laptop, you are now looking for A1, B1, C1. But yet, I mean, by the time you be among these people for some time, it changes your worldview of things. It changes how you study. It changes how you approach issues. So for me, you don't need God to speak to you that leave Ghana and go and study abroad. If truly you want to study abroad.
I like the last one. You don't need God come and tell you that. Yes, that was a good one. Okay, any more questions, please? Any more questions from us? Okay, Mr. Gosway, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much to the organizers and to our presenters for a very well thought plan, program, structured presentation. God bless you. So my question has to do with the project work or thesis. Or so for me, I didn't get opportunity to do thesis or project work for my undergrad, but I actually helped those who were doing the years. It's just that I don't know how the school made the thing, and suddenly some of us couldn't have the chance to do it, and they didn't communicate to us on time to apply to. So yeah, I ended up not doing one. And then after school, I do engage in researching. I do assist even PhD students and even those who do their master's proposal writing. I do a lot of them. And personally, I also have a blog that I write on few subjects, few topics. And for my LinkedIn, I don't post regularly, but I do once a while post some things there. And sometimes I get some good feedbacks. So I wanted to find out with my situation, coupled with a lot of volunteering, a lot of leadership, roles all over wherever I find myself. How best can I also put myself together or for opportunities? I actually applied to some schools in the US. I got some admissions, and like I said in the chat, some of that I didn't get a chance to proceed because of the BS, the bank statement, right? Yeah. So, but that, yeah, I'm also working on that. So I want to ask, what opportunities are there for me? I'm looking forward to specializing in areas of leadership, transformation. Leadership and organizational development, and also finance side. I'm looking to those areas. So how do I also get some good opportunities? I want to find out with my history.
Yeah, I think if you have a good volunteering history, it means you can easily translate them as a work experience or significant background in whatever field you are in. The only link is that if you are doing, you want to do a master's, you need to kind of show some demonstrable history or background in that particular area. So if you are applying for schools, I think for most of the schools, you have to apply, and then when you get admission, before they ask for bank statements. So it's not like beginning that you have to submit bank statements. It's mostly after you have gotten admission. So for now, you just have to organize your CV, try to put in all those things, document them. Sometimes you can use the templates, some of the templates I shared. Very good way to document some of the things you have done. And if they see that you are very good with the things you have done, they will give you admission. And the first step is to get admission, and then the next thing is to think about funding. And you don't have to really worry about, oh, would I get funding? Would I get all this? Just start. If you start, apply, and then be hopeful that you'll get admission. If you get admission, and also you don't have to think just about US. You have to think about like UK, Canada. I think one of the things I did was that I didn't really take Canada seriously when I was supposed to take it seriously. People were kind of thinking about Canada. I was just thinking about UK and US. And I think in hindsight, when I go back, I would do better in having a lot of options. So try to have a good CV, try to have a very strong statement, like connecting your motivation to your program. And then when you do that, I think you'll get funding.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I would also like to say you can like invest your time and money into this. It's financially demanding, but it's something that would gonna benefit you in the long run. So if it's 5 schools, look at 5 schools and put in a good application. Sometimes because of the time frame, we just put in a shabby application. No, whatever whatever thing you invest into, you get the fruits of your labor. So like maybe even if maybe the first year you don't get an admission with the funding, be persistent, apply again, because maybe that cycle the school did not have funding. Maybe it's not because you didn't put in a good application. It could be that the school didn't have enough funding for you, or the number of students that applied that year were a lot. So if you're applying to sociology, and you keep getting a rejection, why don't you change it to either criminal justice, psychology, social work, or higher education? For US, it's not like, oh, what you studied psychology, therefore you have to become a clinical psychologist. No, it's kind of like versatile. You can always apply to other fields. And it's based on your research interest. I'm in criminal justice, but my research interest is in cybersecurity. So yeah, you can fill in anywhere. Just get more information and put in an application. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. After this information, use it to your advantage. I placed in the group Georgia State University, the webinar. We also have other schools that have webinars. You can always log on and yeah, you get a free application fee waiver, which goes a long way in helping you in this process.
Okay, I want to ask this, Georgia State University. Mr. Doe kept saying that by, say, by December, January, the admissions are out and the funding issues are already settled. I want to know specifically for Georgia State whether that is the case currently, because I have some people that are on standby waiting for scholarship or GA opportunities from Georgia State. Let's take Mr. Innocent's question and then we add that to it and you can answer, please. Okay, Mr. Innocent, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening to everyone. This is Mrs. Innocent.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So my host, I'm the one, not Mr. Innocent. I just want to say thank you for all this information given to us. We are so grateful and we are proud of you guys out there and those of us trying our best to make it both in Ghana and outside Ghana. God bless you. And we have a few minutes more to just.
Okay, thank you very much, my boss lady. Okay, you please can you answer the question?
Sure. So I think it depends on the department. So just I would recommend the person email the graduate advisor to find out. All these things, I feel like it's just the grace of God. So it's not about, oh, maybe they are done with it. Maybe you may get an opportunity to like get funding. Maybe someone may turn down their funding. They may get two funding, maybe from another school. They may choose to reject this funding, and that funding can be passed on to you. So tell the individual to contact their graduate advisor. Yeah.
And I also think it's, for now, if you applied, the admissions should come in, I think some of them are January, some of them are February, depending on like the school. But what I was saying is that like for you to be able to get funding, most of the funding, like those who give funding, most of the application for funding supposed to end around December. Like if you want to get funding. For January, it's for people who are applying and maybe they have their own funding. Some of the schools also, they extend to maybe January 15. Most of the schools that have funding, they don't normally kind of open admission until January or February. Mostly it's around December, like most of them. So if you applied and you have not gotten back from them yet, or you've not gotten feedback from them yet, you still have to be hopeful, because if you have applied, you should always expect that your admission will come maybe February, March. Sometimes people are kind of accepting and rejecting. So sometimes your admission might even come around March, like when someone had rejected their offer. So because some of the programs, they give the admission with scholarship at once. So they kind of wait for people to accept before if the person does not accept, then they give to another person. So it might delay a bit. But I was talking about the application. The application, you need to kind of target like by December, you are done with your application. January is just for few universities that still want to admit more people with funding. But like generally, it's around December.
Okay, thank you. I think my final question will be on getting employment opportunities outside the school. And then is it possible you use that as a basis for like your funding? So for instance, in my case, last year I got into USC, University of South Carolina. They recommended me for GA, but at the end of all the interviews, I didn't get hear from them. But I realized that when the admission came and then they recommended me for GA, there was a site, Handshake, and over there are a lot of uh, job or employment avenues for students, graduate students to apply to. But that was for a short period of time that they were still doing the recruitment process. At the end of the recruitment process, I realized that line was cut off, and when you try to log on, you need like an institutional email, a school's email to be able to log on and then apply. So I want to find out if there are other sites like that you can, search for uh, job opportunities, that displays job opportunities for students, and then if you can apply for those ones and then use those ones as funding for the schools that you get admitted to. We'll add Mr. Bosway's question, and then I think that will be the last for this session. Mr. Bosway, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I want to ask. I think sometime last year, someone advised me not to. I think the admissions I had to some schools were all from private schools. Some were willing to give scholarship, actually. But someone advised me to rather focus on public universities. So I want to please find out about your take on it and what advice you also have.
Yeah, I think public universities are the ones with the funding, but it won't hurt if it's a free application or you have money to spare. It won't hurt to also apply to one private school, but your target should be a public university, because that's where they get the state funding, like Georgia State. The state gives them funding, other donors, but private schools, maybe their target is profit. But still, we have a Emory University here in Atlanta. They give funding. It's quite a small university for people in medicine and economics. Yeah, they have a little bit of funding, but your target, maybe when you're applying to 5 schools, just one private school. Yeah, your focus should be on the public universities, but it won't hurt to apply to one private school that you've heard. So email the graduate coordinator and ask them if your chances of getting funding is high before applying to the private university. Yeah. And also to the question that Ronald asked about Handshake. Yeah, my school has Handshake platform that people post graduate research assistantship positions on. So you can equally go there, as your graduate coordinator will, which other platform, like if they have graduate assistantships on the Handshake, and apply there. You are likely to get a graduate assistantship with full tuition waiver. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just reading the comment and then also about the handshake thing. So I noticed that most of the fundings we get is only for 9 months. I don't know. I think it's common in most of the universities, only for 9 months, except if your projects, span the whole year. So sometimes you get some of this handshake work during the summer break that you can apply and be employed, so that during the break time you have something to do. But if your project goes throughout the whole year till December, or through the academic year and the vacation, it means that you have something to do during the vacation. And I want to mention again that if you are already on a 20-hour kind of project or teaching assistant already, you can't go for any handshake work, because it will violate your visa requirement. The F1 visa requires that you do only 20 hours. So if you are already working in your department, both as teaching or research, you can't now go for a handshake, because that will means that you are treading the illegal way of working beyond the working hours that is on your visa. Yeah.
Also, the person who was looking for private schools, there are a lot of private universities, and all the big universities you know of, Harvard, Yale, they are all private universities. And US, you don't have to think so much about private. If you have GRE scores, those are actually universities you have to target. If you have a GRE score, they kind of give admission, and their funding is also very heavy. Like, funding is more. So if you have a GRE score, you might actually want to target some of those big universities like Harvard, Yale, is it MIT, Caltech? Most of them are private, so they have a lot of.
You are mentioning the top tier university.
And they are all private too. So yeah, privates, yes, they have funding, and some of them, their requirements are just very high. So if you have some like good GRE score, they can admit you. But if you don't have a lot of those requirements, like maybe the GRE score, then regular universities, and in US, they kind of categorize the universities into R1, R2. So those are some of the things you should consider. Not so much about private, public, but like R1. If you have R1, they have a lot of research intense like activities. So they have more funding, they have grants, and I think they're able to sponsor like people who are applying. R2 also, they don't have a lot of funding, but like they are trying. So they also might be a good place to look at. And then like those that are below it, they don't have a lot of funding, and they are heavily teaching focus. So that's what you can maybe consider, like R1, R2, and like community colleges and other like state colleges.
Yeah, so to add to that also, I think all of us back home in Ghana, we never knew that there are a lot of universities in America. You'll be surprised that one state can have more than 10 universities. So calculate that against the number of states in America. So there are a lot of schools, and sometimes our focus is only on the ones that we know, the names we know. I mean, the ones we've heard that, oh, our friend, our church members, our relatives are attending. But you can just look at the US, the American map. Look at the map alone and look at all the states. So you see a state like maybe Idaho. So just type universities in Idaho. You see a state like maybe like, so you just type the universities in that state. You might be the first to go there. You know, and most of the schools here, they want to do more of inclusivity, get, I mean, kind of different people from different cultural background to join their department. So just try some of the, look at the map, look at the various states, and be searching the schools according to the state, and that will help. For me, when I was coming here, one of the things I didn't want to do is to go to some of the big states, because people share experience with me. I have a friend whose stipend is close to $4,000. It's a PhD student, but his rent is around almost $3,000. So a month. So now, if you are paying almost $3,000 from your $4,000, what do you have to survive? But you go to another school that your stipend might be a little about $2,000, and your rent might be less than $1,000. I mean, the dynamics is different. So I was, and also because the competition is tough. As they said earlier, a lot of Nigerians are trooping in here every time. Like you will see their gathering, you'll be asking, why are they all here? But when Ghanaian community we meet, you see that our number is very small. Also, maybe because of their population, they want to run away, because Ghana, our population can go into their population many times. So maybe that is also the reason. But try and look for areas that you don't know about, you've not heard about, and God, by His own wisdom, if that is where He has destined for you and I to be, He will create the way. Yeah, and if the time comes, Bible says He makes all things beautiful at the right time. So let's keep trusting God as we also apply, and God will pave the way for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've had a very educative and then a very inspiring session today, and want to say a very special thank you to our panelists, Mr. Doe, Mr. Stephen, and then Miss Yo. We are very grateful for your time and then the knowledge that you've impacted this evening. I will call on our chairman, Mr. Sebastian, if he has any final words for us. And then I'll move on to my chairperson, Miss
MC, he's a presbyter, please, we beg.
Mr. Beg. Please, thank you very much, Mr. Ronald Joel. That's amazing job there, and I would like to appreciate our speakers or facilitators so much for a great job, for availing yourself. You have really inspired us. One person said that you don't need God to tell you to apply to schools outside. Brothers, sisters, we need to take this course seriously. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. A. I'm not able to mention all your names. So please, I just want to say a big thank you. One more thing, I would like you to, we have a diaspora community for WhatsApp page for all Gesamites. So those of you, the speakers who are Gesamites, kindly, after this, we'll send you the link so that you join and you can interact with other Gesamites that are abroad. Every time, if you have something for us, you can plan it and then you let us know, and then we'll give you the opportunity to share it with us here in Ghana and the students at large. Yes, we'd like to also encourage, appreciate all the people who have joined. That will be doing more of this. Kindly talk to your friends whenever the program comes up. Let us join and learn together and build a strong associate front that can benefit we ourselves and even the students at large. Thank you very much, education professionals, for putting up this great program. God bless you. Thank you all and have a good night. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Madam Chair Lady, please, your last words for us. Okay. So thank you all so much once again.
Last word is
okay.
God bless participating. And for sharing this link, and who, yeah, Joel, and my own.
Hello?
Can somebody hear her? Because I don't think we can hear her.
Yes, I think I just went off. I said God bless you all for participating and for allowing yourself to be used as us. We are so grateful. More programs are, and we are praying that you avail yourself to be used. God bless. Good night.
Sounds good. Please let's say a word of prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you so much for this evening. Thank you, Father, for what you've helped us to acquire this evening. We pray that your spirit will continue to guide us and lead us, and then help us to put into practice all that we have heard. And at the end of the day, we know and hope that you bless whatever we've learned and whatever actions that we will take, so that we'll give you all the glory and all the adoration at the end of the day. We thank you so much. Continue to be with our facilitators, bless them and equip them, O Lord, with every help that they need. And the participants, whatever you'll be doing from what you've gotten here, we pray that it shall be successful in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Okay, so thank you all.
God bless you, Ronald, for the opportunity.
Okay. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, please, I wanted to give shout out to Della Connect, and I want to invite those who haven't subscribed yet to subscribe. One of our speakers has a wonderful, amazing channel on YouTube with great content on education, learning stuff, and I hope we'll get more content on that channel. Della Connect, I salute you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. This program is also live on YouTube. So those who couldn't join, we'll share the YouTube link. Everything is there. You can go back. The Get Some YouTube link. You can go back and watch it again. Thank you.
Oh, that's